This is Peter King with NBC Sports, and this is my 40 for 40 for 2012. I've already done one 40 for 40 in 2012, but I really felt like I wanted to do another one, and it involves my feature story for the 2012 Super Bowl pregame show. It was aired in, obviously, early in 2012 with the 2011 football season and the Giants and the Patriots. The game was in Indianapolis, and I did a story that year on Steve Gleason, who basically was suffering at the time from ALS, was in a wheelchair, and I interviewed him and his wife, Michelle Verisco, at their home in New Orleans, and it basically was the only time ever that I have done a story for NBC or for Sports Illustrated that in the middle of it, I started crying. And the reason I started crying, I'm going to have the feature story, which is on NBC Sports YouTube page. I'm going to have the feature story attached to this, so if you want to watch, you can. And the reason I cried is that obviously Steve Gleason, famous football player for the New Orleans Saints, had a huge blocked punt, which so many people in New Orleans view as the beginning of the revival of the New Orleans Saints in 2006, when they beat the Atlanta Falcons at home in the Superdome in the first game back after Hurricane Katrina. But so much about that punt and so much about Steve Gleason sort of mirrored the indomitable spirit of New Orleans and all of Louisiana as they came back from Katrina. So he contracts ALS, and he obviously was on his way in physical decline when I interviewed him before that Super Bowl. But what really stuck out in my mind, and what really is burned in my brain to this day, is when Michelle Verisco, Steve Gleason's wife, just said, I just hope that somehow, some way, he can retain his voice. We have so many great talks. It would just be cruel and totally unfair for him to lose his voice. And of course, he did lose his voice. And I just think one of the things that sticks out to me about that is when you get married, you say in sickness and in health. And Michelle Verisco, and in fact, the entire Verisco family, a New Orleans institution, has been by Steve Gleason's side as he has suffered over the years with this horrible disease, ALS. And I hope you watch this story, and I hope you just sort of say to yourself, listen, there are reasons why we, kind of root for people. And I always say I don't root for teams. I kind of root for my story. And but in this case, I actually root for a person. I root for a family. I root for Steve Gleason. I root for Michelle Verisco, and I root for their family, son Rivers, daughter Gray, in hoping over the years that they can find as much peace as possible as they deal with this illness. And that is my 40 for 40 for 2012.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.